Hi, guys. Welcome to the first session of the Society Against Material Pursuits. Today is going to be much of an introductory session, so I'm going to begin by talking about what this podcast is about and how we're going to proceed, how we're going to do things. I say we, it's actually just one person. No, it's actually just one person. My name is Angel Karchev, otherwise known as Angel Karchev, in an easily pronounceable to foreign people way my name. And I'm from 11-1, and I'm the person who created this podcast. The origin story is a project me and some other people did in 9th grade. It was, we had to do a project for a philosophy class, and we decided to do a podcast. So we did. I found it extremely enjoyable. I found it really, 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 really cool to do, stimulating intellectually because we talked about a lot of things. It was a lot of fun. It was 4 people. And I decided, hell, next year I'm going to make that a club. And so I sought out one of the other people who who participated in that project. And I told him, hey, do you want to make that podcast from last year into a club? And he basically said, nah, I don't want to bother with it. And so that's what it was for the end of for all of 10th grade. This year, I just decided to just do it on my own. And I am the only person currently in the room. I am going to be the only person that's going to talk, the only person that's going to appear on today's podcast. It's Creator. Angel Karchev, 11-1, 11th grade. So a bit about me, not that anybody cares, not that anybody's going to listen to this. This is almost like a voice memo that's going to get 3 views. I am 17 years old, and I am interested in history and philosophy and the arts, such as literature and especially music. Music is really something I'm very, 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 very passionate about. I listen to a lot of music. I explore music on my own. I'm constantly finding new artists and new songs to listen to. Music is a very essential part of my identity, and I think the way music transmits messages through your ears, through auditory sensations, I think is pretty cool. Not only pretty cool, I think it's the greatest thing, the best way, because the music, while of course there's lyrics to music, and that can literally tell you something's meaning, the sounds that make up music are also very important, and the manner in which it's produced, like how loud it is, what it is, because in some electronic music, the thing, a lot of you don't know, it's not traditional instruments that are making the sounds that you hear. Definitely not traditional instruments. It's computer generated. That's why it's electronic. So I'm a fan primarily of rock music, and I know I saw a meme the other day, if somebody uses the terms alternative rock and indie rock, just don't bother with them. They're dumb. And I concede I could be pretty dumb. I don't know. But I'm primarily a listener of a lot of styles of music. I'm not the type of person who says I listen to everything, because I'm not. I am pretty selective about the things I listen to. I can stand a lot of things, but there's a difference between tolerating something and actually listening to it. So I'm a fan of rock music. alternative rock, indie rock, some heavier things, some art rock. I'm a fan of some electronic. I'm a big fan of jazz as well. I really love it, jazz and blues. I love progressive rock as well. Um, and some of the things I listen to, like people describe them as pop, like as power pop, and I think there needs to be a serious discussion about the meaning of the word pop because that has changed drastically, drastically. In back in the 60s and the 70s, like pop music was much more akin to your traditional rock music. So it had guitars, it had a bass. It was made mostly by bands, or singular people, but with bands that for touring or for recording. While in recent years the term pop has simplified to so I guess what I'm trying to say is that in the past pop music was mostly rock oriented, while right now pop music is a lot more electronic and especially R&B oriented. See, I'm not the biggest fan of R&B and hip hop and those kinds of things, but I like some of them. I like some of the ideas. For example, I like Kendrick Lamar a lot. I don't listen to him a lot, but I listen to his albums a few times. To Pimp a Butterfly, for example, and I like the message. I like the way that rap flowed. I like his flow and stuff. But I'm primarily a rock type of person, a rock and electronic and jazz type of person. Not so much R&B. That said, some of my favorite bands include Radiohead, Weezer, Queens of the Stone Age, Duster, Muse, and a Bulgarian band by the name of Ustava, which I really love. I really love them so much, and they made so many great songs outside of their greatest hit, Chocolat, which means chocolate. They made that song, which is fantastic on its own, but like everything else they've made is just so good, so good, so good. So I'm gonna start this podcast always with disclosing what song I last listened to on my phone. And if at any point in the foreseeable future there is another person in the room with me, which doesn't seem very likely, I will also ask them to share what the last thing they listened to on their phone is, because I think, as I said, music is very important to me, and I think by asking somebody what kind of music they listen to, you can find out a lot about them. There's even a joke that I made. I joke that the only criteria I have for a romantic partner is the girl, the girl. Obviously, girl. There's this joke, like it's kind of misogynistic, but like women's standards must be X, Y, Z, whatever. Men's standards must be female, optional. Um, God, I'm here dissecting memes. Jesus, what a miserable existence. So, anyways, what I'm saying, the joke was that if my only criteria for a relationship is what kind of music the other person listens to, which sounds like a joke at first, but I am being serious. Like, what kind of music you listen to is a very complex thing that has been formed by your entire life up to this point in your decisions, and it can tell a lot about the way you live. So a person that primarily listens to top 40 pop, to top to popular songs, only surface level popular songs, that kind of person I don't like most of the time, because it shows an unwillingness to live life to the fullest. He's that type of person is satisfied with what he's given, which nobody should ever be satisfied with what they're given unless they're given the absolute maximum, unless they've experienced life to the fullest. So, the last song that I listened to on my phone is called I Was a Teenage Hand Model by Queens of the Stone Age. I think I mentioned Queens of the Stone Age as one of my most favorite groups. Music acts of all time, basically. And recently, well, I'm a huge fan of them. Like, my favorite album is Tough Question. I would say Like Clockwork, just because of the emotional significance it carries. But Songs for the Deaf is their most popular one, their most critically acclaimed one. I love that to bits as well. And also, I love Era Vulgaris. I think it's really, really solidly underrated album. Like, it's not bad at all. It has some weaker cuts, but it's really not as bad of an album that as people are saying it is. I also like Lullabies, although I can see it has quite a few more shortcomings than compared to its other ones. But recently, this song I mentioned, I Was a Teenage Hand Model, is the closer of Queens of the Stone Age's debut album, which is self-titled. And the journey of the band Queens of the Stone Age is pretty fascinating. It started as a desert rock, stoner rock kind of thing with thick beats and a really, really, really strong guitar. I love the guitar. I love the guitar tone in the Queens of the Stone Age records because it's just so expressive, even when it doesn't try to. Like, even when it's the guitar is just smashing chord after chord, even if it's the same chord, it's just so expressive. It's just, the music is so expressive. And this is actually their debut album. The closer from it, I Was a Teenage Hand Model, which is pretty good. It's one of the better songs on the record, but it doesn't come close to the beginning. Like, it opens up with Regular John, which is really great. Man, it's so good. That song is talks about prostitution, I think. And there are some lyrics. There's supposed to be a phone number, 16278263789, which obviously is not a real phone number, but it sounds like one. And this is going to sound really pretentious, but I have that number in my Instagram bio. You can follow me on Instagram. No, you can't follow me on Instagram. Don't follow me on Instagram. Don't try to find me. I am unfindable unless I want to be found, or I agree to be found. Like, it doesn't have to be an explicit. Yes, you may now find me. You may now follow my Instagram. Yeah, I am King Louis the 15th. No, that's not French. That's British. That's British posh. Alfred? No, why am I saying Alfred? Anyways, I'm trying to do impressions. I'm not very good. Yes, Master Wayne? Oh, you want me to fetch the Batmobile, Master Wayne? Yeah, I think that was a pretty good impression of Alfred from the Batman series. I watched The Joker on Saturday, which is 4 days from now. 4 days, including this one, from now. And I hadn't watched it, but I knew all the memes from it because I have a friend who's really into movies, Dennis Tahir, from one of the presidents of the Short Movies Club, where this message was brought to you by SMUCS, the Short Movies ACS Club. I encourage everybody that listens to this to join this club because it's of the highest quality. So I watched The Joker, and me and Dennis joke about The Joker, haha, a lot, like way too much. There's even this joke we have that if we were to do a challenge about stand-up, if we were to try stand-up comedy, we should go do a challenge who who can go the most amount of time without quoting the Joker, which is pretty funny. I mean, the movie's good. The movie is good. It's obviously like set in the Batman universe, in the DC universe type of deal. So it's not like an isolated movie. Obviously, it's got this reference like Thomas Wayne and like the Joker, and it's set in Gotham and stuff. But I think this movie is really good. Like, it's quotable. It's got some very very good scenes, and it hits you really deep. The message of the movie is pretty muddled because while the Joker in this movie is generally like you can understand his motivation, he is a mentally ill person in a society that ignores him and treats him like dung. Direct quote from the movie. That was another joke, Murray. That was pretty good. That's what the movie's about. The movie's about this guy, this comedian who is not very funny and is able, basically life, like he suffers from real hardships because he's mentally ill, and society, we live in a society, treats him really badly, really poorly, like he doesn't belong there. And I think one of the messages of the movie is that society should belong to everyone on the basis of society was created by all humans, and so all humans should participate. All humans participate in society unless willingly stated otherwise. Like if you want to be a hermit, then go do a hermit. That severs all ties with society. But if you participate in society, society should treat you as an equal. And I think this is a big problem with modern times and with the rise of this. This is something I'm very concerned with. Like, as a person who thinks a lot on these things, I think a lot about the role of the individual in society. That's kind of my thing as a philosopher, as a thinker. No, that's one of the problems of the world I'm passionate about society, the individual's role in society and society's role in the individual. As weird as it sounds like it doesn't make sense. Then it makes sense. That's my deal. I have another friend. That's all. Like, you're not gonna be hearing about me and a lot of friends. I have not many friends because I'm recording this podcast in a basement alone for maybe 3 people across my lifetime to hear. Me, probably Dennis, my friend, and probably my other friend. I don't know. 3 people. Sounds good. So one of the problems I'm really concerned about is society's role as in relation to the individual, and something I see a lot in Western society right now, and to an extent in Eastern society, which I am part of. Like, obviously, I'm from Bulgaria, which is in Eastern Europe. Its Human Development Index is comparable to Kazakhstan, which could mean 2 things. Either Kazakhstan is really well developed, or Bulgaria is a heap of trash. And I choose to believe the first one. Kazakhstan is actually pretty well developed. I looked that up today. I know it's pretty random, but whatever. It doesn't matter. So society, I feel like, in recent times has become really superficial. And I'm not saying it was never superficial. I think society has a lot of the time become superficial because it's one of the most basic things that you judge things based on what you see. And I don't discard that. Like, I think things should be judged according to how they look. Also with other humans, I think. Everybody should be judged, basically, for everything. This is what society is. By putting yourself into society, you agree to be judged. But judging is not bad. Being judged is not bad. As long as you are a good person. Oh, this sounds dumb. I was about to say, as long as you're a good person, you should agree to being judged, but no, I don't agree. No, I don't agree. I contradict myself a lot, which is fine. My philosophical system is one of the bases is that the only system that can explain anything is the absence of a system, which is very hotly debated by one of my friends, Petr Petrov, also 11th grade. So he is a very conservative libertarian type of deal. Not so much racist or anything, but just like really economically and philosophically right. So what I'm saying is that I think society, in recent times, it's become much more evident that society judges people and things unfairly, and there are standards which are in place for some people but aren't in place for other people. Like, society is not truly equitable. It's never been truly equitable. Like, not even in an anarchy can society be truly equitable, but it should be. It should be. The human Homo sapiens, the human is an animal. It's base. He tries to enrich himself. He prioritizes the self as an animal. And this is the great value of society and why society exists at all. Because in order for humans to grow and to enjoy this level of prosperity that the human race is enjoying right now, comparative with every single other animal species on any planet that we know of, we need to live in a society. That's my thesis. Society is the great civilizer. Society should act as the great equalizer, the largest common denominator that we are all placed under. That's the perfect society. Society that we live in now has been distorted, has been perverted, has been completely taken apart and rebuilt to serve the interests of those who have. Plato would call this an oligarchy, which is the rule of those who have. Plato was actually in favor of a monarchy, but he defined other types of government. He thought democracy was pretty bad. He thought democracy was a tyranny of the majority, which is pretty bad. I agree. Tyranny of the majority sounds pretty bad. But Plato defined an aristocracy, which is a rule of those who can, which would be more akin to the thing we call a meritocracy right now, while the oligarchy emerges when the aristocracy is corrupted, and so it's instead of those who can, it's those who have that rule. And he envisions in that way people with money and people with social standing and people with yada yada yada, all of these inherent to society elements that somebody possesses only within a society. Because if you take a rich man, if you take a billionaire and get him out of society, like what are his billions worth? What is his social standing worth? What is his influence worth? It's worth nothing. But if someone who can is brought out of society, he could possibly formulate a society. Now, a lot of people argue that billionaires, I gave this example already, that billionaires are billionaires because they are ones who can. And I disagree. I think to have $1 billion or a billion level or a billion of anything is such an unthinkable amount of things to have. It's just, sure, I agree, people should amass wealth, but the problem is that then the people who have amassed wealth before the other people through some way or another, because the world is a random place, and if two people are going to do their job and one of them is in a car crash and is late and gets fired, while the other is there to help his boss, the first one is probably going to get a promotion despite not deserving it more than the second one, while two drastically different outcomes have happened. So it's due to pure chance that some people are able to amass wealth quicker than others. And when these people have amassed wealth, obviously our society values wealth, and I don't think wealth should be without value. Obviously, money exists as a tool, but those with wealth make it harder for those without wealth to gain wealth. See, the mega rich people fear competition. They fear competition as much as they believe in the free market. The goal of most extremely rich people owning companies is to monopolize the area in which they are. This is what I'm saying, is that if by any chance, if by random chance you're able to amass wealth, the most logical thing from an evolutionary point of view is to safeguard your position by sabotaging the other position. There are other ways to go about it. You can help other people because you believe in the human race. That's an egalitarian pursuit. But egalitarianism doesn't exist outside of society. It doesn't. It doesn't exist. And so this is what I'm saying. Society is the great denominator. Society is the bringer of virtue. But the society that we live in now has been perverted in an animalistic way. It has been reinterpreted through the lens of evolution. And there's an over-concentration of the self. Because even if I think the self should be very important, the self should not be nearly as important as everything makes it out to be. Nearly as important. Nearly as important. And on that positive note, I'm going to conclude this first podcast of the Society Against Material Pursuits, which by now you probably understand why it's called the Society Against Material Pursuits. It's named after its creator, who values the immaterial over the material. As much as the material is necessary in our current world, the immaterial is it's so essential that it can't even be called necessary. It's there. It's there whether you want it or not. Like, every person possesses free will, whether they know it or not. So my name was and still is Angel Karchev. This was the Society Against Material Pursuits podcast, and we will see you next time, which should probably be in about 2 weeks or maybe 1 week. I have no idea. So see you then, and I hope maybe next time I'll have another person in the room, as bizarre as that sounds, and there can be actual furtherment of discussion that isn't just me regurgitating my own opinions. Okay, signing out.